Good evening, everybody. I know it's draft night, but welcome to the third episode of the AFLW show. I am joined once again by the legendary Pommy. Good evening, Pom. How are you?
Good evening, Shan. Thanks for having me back. I obviously didn't do too bad last time to be the emergency today.
No, you were the emergency this evening, and sending wishes to my co-host Nick. Hope you are feeling better soon. Nice and well rested for next week if you will love to join me. How are you, Pom? How's the week been so far? I know you've been busily working away on draft night for the men's, but give us a quick insight.
In between work, draft, kids, there's not much time really. There was my wife's birthday though in between there, so very happy birthday, Mrs. Pom,
Mrs.
for
Pom,
yesterday.
Happy birthday.
So yeah, she enjoyed catching up to me because there is a month exactly between me and her. So she's now old. So she's been giving me banter for a month. She's now there.
You're only as old as you feel.
Well, my grandma used to say you're only as old as the man you feel. So for my wife, that makes her a month older at all times. So it's good news.
Enough. That is good news. On that note, let's kick off the show.
Vesio with all the experience in the world. She kicks.
And there it is, just on half time. Manny Prasparkas.
Every week I love that little bop at the end. It's great.
It's good, isn't it? I tell you, the intros on this channel are elite. I've got to say that.
They are. Before we get into tonight's show, I just want to let everyone know that the Cheer Squad is once again selling raffle tickets. This time it's my boy Murph. We are raffling off a Murphy signed jumper for draft night. So jump onto the Cheer Squad Facebook page and follow the prompts to get your tickets. I know I will have my 2 cents in very, very soon because that jumper has my name written all over it.
I'd imagine you've dropped about 5k on the tickets, haven't you, for that? I'd imagine there's 2 raffle tickets that aren't you.
Oh, I wish. To kickstart the show this evening, we are heading off from where we left off. So we finished off at Maddie last week. So it's only fair and fitting that we start at number 5 on our list. And that is young Abbie McKay, daughter of the legendary McKay at Carlton. Everybody knows Andy. He was an absolute legend of the football club, and she is following very, very quickly in his footsteps as a midfielder. And I loved the way she went about her football last year. She came into her own. It took her a couple of seasons to really get going, but I think that season just gone was probably her best. She played 9 matches last season for us with a career total of 13. So she's only 21. So she's still got a lot of football left ahead of her. She averaged 12 disposals a game, 8 handballs, 4 tackles, nearly 3 clearances. I think she's establishing herself as a strong midfield player that can support Maddie. What are your thoughts?
She is, and I think one thing that was really impressive as well was just how aggressive she was. You look at her tackle numbers as well last year as well. Like a lot of them games, she got over 6 tackles, which particularly in any game of football is a huge amount anyway. But in the women's as well, tackles are the commodity as well. So she's very like her dad. She's just about in every passage of play. She plays the game as she means to go on. She's that real aggressive intent in and around the park. And you're always, when I'd imagine playing her, you're always looking over your shoulder because you know she's going to be there or thereabouts. So definite positive signs for someone so young.
Oh, definitely. And I second that. Tackling pressure in women's football is second to none. And it's one of the most important pressure acts you can have because I feel that the female game is probably centered around that tackling pressure. And it's something that I know most clubs pride themselves on, and it's something I think we're working on quite strongly, especially having Diesel down there now, as we've mentioned in previous weeks. So having a strong body like Abbie in that midfield kind of gives our girl a chop out. And even Peter's, I couldn't agree more. Her clearance work came on in the second half. Pretty much reiterates everything that we're saying in regards to the way she goes about her football. And her intercept possessions was 18 for the season. And I think that's still pretty good at a disposal efficiency of 75%. Can't ask for much more than that. Like you're gonna hit your targets pretty quickly. And yeah, I think Stuart, love it. Doing all right with the McKays. Swanee in the 70s, Andrew McKay, Harry McKay, and now Abbie. I don't think Harry is related to Andrew or Swanee McKay, but it's definitely good to see the father-daughter and her wearing her dad's jumper.
It's a good surname.
It is a good surname.
It's a lucky one. I mean, it's like the opposite of Josh. We don't have much luck with Joshes. So don't seem to get many of them going well for Carlton, but the McKay name kind of trumps that, doesn't it? If you've got the McKay name, you'll play a few games for us.
Just a few. And I think that, moving into 2022, I think her game can only get better. And I don't think that she should doubt herself anymore and her ability and her capability, and she just needs to back herself, because that's probably one of her strengths is being able to back herself in a pressure situation. And she showed that throughout her 9 games, I feel, and she can only get better from here, definitely.
Sky's the limit. I think it's a great start. Like you say, she only played a handful of games in her first year. Second year, she was in pretty much all of them, wasn't she? Really, bar I think one. So
I think she missed one, yeah.
So I think that says, especially we're quite a young side now, that's quite a lot of experience on this list. So she's got the right groundings, really, to go from strength to strength, because we talked last week finding a Maddie help. I'd imagine that she'll be one of the ones who will be putting a hand up to do some of that heavy lifting this year.
Well, I think she needs to, and her game can only get better. And I have only got big raps for her, and I know everyone that I've spoken to, the first person they mention, the first name they have on the team sheet next to Maddie's is Abbie's. So that in itself should be enough confidence for her for next year and beyond.
No, 100%.
So the next lovely lady on our list this evening needs no introduction. She is an inaugural Blue who is one of our favourites at the cheer squad. She has the time of day for absolutely everybody, and she is a character in herself, and that is Gabby Pound. She is a lovely kick of the football, strong defender, and I personally wish she would never leave, never retire, and continue to play forever.
Big call, but I love it. I love it. Yeah, she's the heart and soul, isn't she?
Yeah. And she's played, I don't think she's missed many games. She played a total of, I think it was nearly all the games last year, maybe 7 she played. So maybe missed 1 or 2 with injury. I think she's currently in the rehab group at training. So she's coming back from an injury post-season. So she'll slowly get back into the fold, I feel. But yeah, Gabby Pound is one of those ones that you can rely on constantly. And you know when the ball's in her hand, it's in safe hands. And we love it a bits in the cheer squad. Got time of day for absolutely everybody. She's hilarious. And I think that she's definitely one of those players that is a strong leader that we definitely need now that you said before that we've got a lot of young players on the list. She's definitely one of those players that can lift the group and be that strong leader that we need.
Oh, 100%. She reminds me a lot of Kate Simpson in the terms of when you look at Carlton's list, it's probably not a name that you think of as a danger. So I think the opposition maybe forget about her. But I think when you think about Harrington's marking ability, you've got Pound's ability when the ball hits the deck, that she's invariably the first there. She's got to head over the ball and she's mopping up anything that does hit the deck. She's a phenomenal player. And I think, like you say, I think she's a very undervalued player, a player that not many people talk about, but those who watch the game and know the team know that she's probably a really important thing. So she does give me that Kate Simpson vibe, the kind of player that probably doesn't get the kudos they deserve, but you do notice them when they're out.
And that comes back to just being Carlton supporters and just knowing our players. Because Simo went very underrated for a very long time, but we knew his capability and we knew just how good he was. And the same can be said about Gabby. I mean, 31 intercept possessions in the back half speaks volumes. And she's just one of those players that if the ball lands in her lap or if it lands on the deck, you know she's going to be first to the ball and she's not going to stop. She's not going to let any pressure or any tackle keep her down. She'll be back up and running again. I absolutely love her. She is one of those dynamic players that we need at our football club, definitely.
No, I agree. And 163 centimetres, when you watch her play, she's not scared of playing on these taller girls either. So she plays well, she plays into what my pop used to tell me, never, ever date a girl smaller than you, son. So they're a nightmare. And honestly, she's a fearsome competitor.
Yeah, and well, in football terms, 27 is still quite young. So I think she's got plenty of football left in her, and she's definitely one of those players that I want to see step up into a leadership role alongside Kez this year after Loinsey's departure. But I definitely think that having Gabby Pound on your team, good luck to the rest of the competition, because once she crosses that white line, she's a completely different person, a completely different player. She's hard at it, and yeah, definitely one of those ones you want to keep in your back pocket.
No, I love her, and I think it's a great call. She's definitely the ace in your card as well. So someone that I'd imagine whoever's playing on her that day knows they're going to have to earn every goal, every touch. So you always feel better when you see her down the back.
That's it. Good to see you again this evening, Chris Beachy, or someone who will give him a correct. What a pun. Love a good pun, don't we?
We do love a pun round here. And Beachy does very well because he keeps the puns Disney. I usually stray into M. Night Shyamalan territory, but he keeps it Disney, so good one that.
Here's one for you, Pommy. Just for Pom's benefit, a pound is around 55 cents Australian.
It is. I occasionally do the transfer from England to, so I'm still familiar with pounds, but it's a long time since I've worked in pounds and pence.
For everyone's benefit, I've never worked with pounds and pence, so only when I visited the UK. I'm not very very savvy in that area. Our next girl this evening is she's come up from number 14 into the number 7 jumper this year, so she's taken over Taylor's. Didn't play many games in 2021, and that is Brooke Walker. She only played the 2 games in this last season, I think due to injury, but and other commitments. But I think that she's another one of those players that in past seasons has been one of those players that you can have in your back pocket and just let her do her own thing. She's a quick footballer. She's 171 centimetres, so she's a little bit taller than Gabby. She averages around 8 disposals a game, 2.5 marks. Kicking is elite. And I just think that she's one of those players that with a preseason under her belt, who knows where this season's going to take her.
Nailed it. I mean, she comes from a real tough game as well. She comes from rugby sevens, which is really quick, really fast paced. Not much time to think, and you do see that in her when she plays our game. She's got all them traits that you expect from a rugby player. She's very quick thinking, and obviously, like most rugby players, knows how to tackle. So she seems to hurt players when she tackles. I'm a big fan of that in the men's game. When you tackle someone, hurt them a little bit. Don't be gentle. And she's got that vivaciousness about her. And also, if you watch her on the podcast as well, probably one of the role models for young girls because she's also really approachable, real people person as well, someone that's a real personality on and off the field. So fantastic player as well. Hard to believe she's a rookie pick as well.
Yeah, and if we have a look at history and our rookie players across both, we've had some rippers in our time. I believe Andy Carrazzo was a rookie pick. Young Edward Curnow was another rookie pick. And so I feel that, yeah, like rugby sevens is probably something that most of our girls should benefit from, just learning that tackling ability. Because I know that Billy Slater's been down to St Kilda helping the men's and that sort of thing. So I feel like bringing that component into any game and learning how to tackle properly and how to be safe when tackling is something that's super important. And you go out there to tackle with intent, not to go out and purposely hurt someone, but to tackle with intent. And I actually did a tackling session at preseason training last night, and that was one of the key takeaways was go in there, go in hard, but protect yourself at the same time. And I feel that Brooke's one of those players that when she tackles with intent. She tackles to make sure that they stay tackled, but she does it to protect herself as well. And that's important in female football because we see a lot of knee injuries and we see a lot of soft tissue injuries. It's about protecting yourself. And I feel, yeah, bringing Brooke back into that side in the coming season, like her immediate impact is going to be insane. And yeah, the run and carry is something that Walker brings. We love someone who can run and carry the football. And in female football, it's not really common because it's always stop, start, because it's more of a congested game. I know definitely at local level, it's more congested. So having someone that can break the game, break the lines, it's very important for us as a club and as a team. If we want to take that next step, we need to have players like Brooke who can break the lines and give it into the hands of a player like Georgia G or Darcy Bessio, like mentioned last week.
Yeah, spot on. I mean, she's so quick as well. I mean, that's an understated part of her game as well. She uses her pace really well, and she can play anywhere as well, which is, you look at her time at the club, she's played down the back, she's played in the forward half, she's played on the ball, she's swung onto the wing. So that kind of versatility is so important. And also the natural leadership as well that she brings that we keep harping on about. We need them leaders. So she'll definitely have a huge role to play, I think, in 2022.
Yeah, well, I personally think that she's going to have a breakout season. And it's like I said, a full preseason, no interruptions. It'll be something that for her will be super beneficial because she'll get to know the new girls. She'll get to familiarize herself again with the girl that she's played with. And I can't see anyone stopping her. She's going to have an absolute ripper season.
She's an absolute phenomenal footballer. So hopefully, touch wood, full season, no injuries, and she'll help the girls get into the finals.
Let's hope so. We're whipping through this really quick this evening, but I do have another couple of things that I wanted to bring up after we've spoken about our next player. And she's another fan favorite. I know we do definitely love her. Her smile impacts absolutely everybody. She's her smile's so infectious. She's tough at the football, and I can't wait to see what she brings. And that's lovely Mua Laloifi. Try and say that name a couple of times fast. You get your tongue nice and twisted, that one.
It's a tough one. It is a tough name.
I love her. She's another one of those players that in the defense that has made that back six so solid. She's brought that extra bit of structure to our defense, and she's kind of like that general. So if you remember Brett Thornton, he was labeled the general. So he was kind of like the main piece of the puzzle, sort of like Jacob Wiedering is now. I see Mua in that kind of role. The ball comes in, she's there to cut it off. And 52 intercept possessions in that back half says it all. Every time the ball came into defense, I knew Mua was going to be there to mark it. I just love her ability, having not played football prior to being drafted for very long, the ability to pick up the game as quick as she has and to be as impactful as she has just speaks volumes of her work ethic. And I just love it a bit.
She's someone you see who grows before your eyes as well. Like the improvement game on game, it seems to be there. The way she plays as well is real aggressive, isn't it? You see her intercept mark and she doesn't stop and think. She takes off. You'll see a big booming kick or she'll take the game on herself. But when she does make the mistakes, what really impresses me about her is her ability not to do that again, which is something that when we watch the men, how many of the times do we see them do the same thing over and over again? And you're like, surely they've learned. But she's one girl who really has, like you say, taken to it like a duck to water. And she's phenomenal. She's one of them players you enjoy watching, like Eddie Betts. Just it's win, lose or draw. She's had fun out there. She wants to be out there, and it makes you fall in love with her. She's enjoying herself, and that's the main thing. If you enjoy something, that's probably why you get better.
100%. And she's played 15 games in total for the club, so it's impressive to see how quick she's come along. I think she's had a bit of a rugby background as well. So I think she's not short, but she's not tall, 173 centimeters. So she's, in women's terms, that's pretty tall for a footballer. So I think that, yeah, she's going to be another one of those players that we need to watch. And I definitely agree with Peter here. She's our Wiedering type, which is what I mentioned. I feel that she plays that central key position defending role alongside Kez and alongside Gab. Yeah, I can't see her being shifted into any other position, and half would be absolutely stupid to move her in any other way or utilize her in any other way, because I think she's very solid, and it's one of those players that we just need to build around her. Keep her as the key position and just build around her.
Yeah, and I mean, she's another, like you say, another rugby type girl as well. Like Stuart nails here. There's a lot of females that have played multiple sports, and that's phenomenal, because you look at some of the men that have played multiple sports. It's been quite laughable, hasn't it, when we've had them in the AFL, even though they've been supreme. But she's a super talent, and again, another part Kiwi like yourself. She was raised in New Zealand, wasn't she? So,
I think so, yeah.
It seems to be a thing. It seems to be a theme. New Zealand and Carlton, same club, aren't they?
Well, yeah, I love this comment, because it's so true. And you look at stepping outside of the Carlton bubble here. You look at Ashani Leighton, who never picked up a football in her life, had spent so many years playing international netball for Australia and super netball for, I think it was for Collingwood. So you see the parallels of those that are naturally born footballers, like a Maddie Prespakis, who's played since she was able to kick a football. And then you look at those players that have probably come from other sports, and sure, the skill level is noticeable, but the development is there. So you see how much effort and how much work these girls put into their training every week. I mean, I'm flipping through Instagram on the daily, and I see the Carlton AFLW updating stories around the girls at training, and just all these mic'd up, and just listening to the girls banter between them. It's incredible, the relationships that they've been able to build in a short space of time. And I just wish the men would take a leaf out of the girls' book and actually wear the jumper with the pride that the girls do. Because I know after the 2017 grand final loss, they were so disappointed in themselves. And they've been trying to build since then. And it's players like Mua, who is, as Peter said, so dependable, that we want to try and give them that success that they deserve. And it all comes back from the development. And if you develop these players, it doesn't matter if they've come from another sport or if they've played football all their life. It's that development that from the get-go that puts them in the right path that we need them to be on to win a flag.
Spot on. I think you've nailed it. And I think, One thing you notice about the girls is there is a real togetherness, isn't there? And these new players, when we do get new players, it doesn't seem long for them to integrate. We do notice that with the men, don't we? Zach Williams, it felt like at times he'd never played for this team, and you could see he'd never played for Carlton. Some of the things he did wasn't on the same wavelength. The transition, though, for the girls seems to be so quick. Some of these girls that we get from other clubs, like last year, we had a couple of new signings, new recruits. They seem to instantly join into the group very quickly and seamlessly. So I agree. It's something that maybe the boys need to look at. What are they doing that makes them so integrated so very quickly, where it does seem we need like 8 or 12, even a season sometimes with some of our new recruits?
I feel like it comes back to the girls and the boys training together. And just, I think they've done it before in the past, but they need to do more of it, just so the boys can get a sense of how the girls operate and vice versa, and maybe even teach them a thing or two. Because as you said, sometimes it takes them 2 seasons. Sometimes they never pick up the culture, or they never pick up the kind of style that we want. But these girls, from the day they put that Carlton training top on or that Carlton polo, bang, they're just a completely different kind of player, and they just have their goals. They set themselves at, they achieve them bit by bit, and they work together as a team to do it. And I feel like players like Mua, players like Abbie, players like Brooke, they're just going to be those players that are going to be there for the next 2 or 3 years and want to be there and make us that club that everyone wants to come to.
I agree with you. And I think if you look at someone like Elise O'Day as well, like from Melbourne, total different style of football that the Melbourne Demons play, their girls' side play, compared to ours. But you look at her from round one, she looked like she'd played with these girls all her life. And you look at how she interacts with the group. It was a warm welcome. It's like she's been best mates with half of these girls since she came into the league. So it's a really good, there's a good vibe about the girls. Like you say, the Instagram posts, it's a real human effect. You know, these are real people, where sometimes, and this is a generalization across the AFL, some of these players feel like robots to us.
They do. And it's like, for instance, I'm just flicking through the Carlton website, like just having a look at what, like over the past couple of days, just what's been happening in the AFLW space. And I've just come across an article, and I was watching the video earlier. Another one of our foundation players, Lauren Brazale, her and 15 staff are going to be running the Melbourne Marathon to raise money for the Monash University NICU unit. How incredible is that? Just the little things that we're doing, and even so with the boys, like getting behind Doc, that's the kind of stuff we want to see. That's the kind of culture we want to instill here. We're a strong, united club that backs anybody in. And it's just fantastic to see, like, because Brazale's family have gone through so much with the Monash NICU unit, and they're helping raise money for it to help other babies that are born prematurely. That's incredible. That's incredible.
It's something that we're starting to see a lot from the club, and I think it is starting to filter down, like you say, to the men, the way that they were behind Doc so strongly. And I think there is a real good vibe at the club, and I think that helps when you've got Diesel working with the girls, who's the director. So it's a big statement, I think, there that kind of unites it, because there isn't really a girls' team and a men's team. These are just two of our teams. It's one big culture and one big club. And I hope there's a little internal competition between the girls and the boys, because if I was one of the boys, I would not want the girls to win a flag before me. And that's the competitive spirit. And I hope the girls are thinking we're going to get there before the boys. So that's something that's really exciting for us, because wouldn't it be great to see the women and the men same year win a flag?
Oh, I want to be the first club to do it, because I don't think any AFLW club has done it. I think the Bulldogs, no, not even.
It's the Holy Grail. It's the Grand Slam.
It is the Grand Slam, and I follow this wholeheartedly. The women are a team. We hope the men can become a team. That's exactly right. They back each other in, and I can see the makings of the boys coming together, and it's something that I think we've been lacking for a very long time. And I hope they take a leaf out of the boys' book. And just speaking about Elise O'Day, you mentioned her a minute ago. There's an article on her on the AFLW news page just around her perspective on football since being the oldest player on the AFLW list. How's that? Fun fact for the night.
I was going to say, she's my favourite player as well that we have. I really like the way that Elise goes about her work. She's probably she became my favourite last year when we got her. I enjoy everything about her game. Yeah,
I look forward to talking through around Elise O'Day in the coming weeks when we get a little bit closer to her playing number. But no, she's not the she's built like a really strong unit. I was going to say something else, but I probably shouldn't. But no, she said she's as happiest as she's ever been playing football. And she's not sure if it's because of her age or a newfound comfort at the Blues. Comes back to culture again. So she's obviously, we're making the girls feel comfortable at the football.
That's it. I mean, it's got to be a place of work first and foremost, but the old saying, a happy workplace is a productive workplace. It can't be too daunting. And I think that's something that we are seeing this year from the men. It does seem more of a place of work, but more welcoming. But it's something the girls have nailed. And whether that's Harvard, whether that's just the culture of the girls that are naturally there, whether that's a sex thing, who knows? But it does seem from day dot, the girls have always had that, like Peter says, are a team. And it's how quickly they seem to integrate into that system, where for a lot of times when we look at some of the men, it does seem like it takes a while for them to become part of the fraternity, where really we need to see them like Elise straight away, day one. They've been friends for the rest of their lives. This has been an eternity. They've just come together today. So that's something that's exciting.
This comment, yes, Stuart, that's what I meant.
We knew what you were going to say, Shan. The audience are used to me saying that, so just throw it out there. They'll be all right.
One of us has got to stay polite, Pommy, in these situations. It's okay for you to say it. You'll love a Pom.
But you are right. She's built like a brick shithole. She's a big girl that will steamroll the opposition.
That she will. And just some other AFLW news, just side of Carlton for a minute. And we were talking about this before we jumped on, and it's probably something that we're going to see a little bit more of. And I respect this particular person that I'm about to talk about. I respect her phenomenally, and the way that she has come out, because obviously the rumours were swirling for a long time when she decided to take personal leave. I'm talking of Georgia Patrikios. And I believe that the Saints have handled this well. You said it to me earlier. You believe the Saints have handled this well. She's carried herself well. And I think everyone just needs to respect how she's going about it. It's her personal choice. And I hope that she does get to come back and play for St Kilda whenever she's ready and whenever they permit it.
Oh, spot on. I mean, it's a troubling time we're in, and whether you agree or not with the mandate, I actually thought this one, I know she's got a lot of heat for it, which I find truly bizarre, because she's confronted it. She said what I think is the right thing to say. Be open to the suggestion to change your mind, which I took out of that. It's a no at the moment, but she's open to her mind being changed, which is all I'd ask of any human being. Keep your mind open. But we want players like this in the comp. Like she's potential to be Maddie Prasparkis level. And the more of them type of girls we can have in the system, playing every week, the better the game will be, the better the standard is, and the quicker we get to having a really, really supreme comp. So best of luck to her. It's a horrible world, though, isn't it? Because you've only got to see some of the comments. And it amazes me because I went through the comments on Twitter on their statement, and there was loads. And I've never seen that many comments on a girl's post that's positive. And it's amazing that suddenly there's all these closet AFLW fans when they can stick the knife in, but they weren't there when she was playing wonderful football last year.
I would love her at Carlton, just quietly, because she's an absolute gun footballer, and her stats and her ability to win the football and win the best and fairest of that football club just speaks volumes. So I wish her all the best. I hope that whatever decision she makes, it's the right one for her, without any outside influence, unless it's obviously something that's of a medical professional nature. So I just thought that it'd be remiss of me to not mention it, because obviously there's a lot of chat going on a lot of social media pages, and I feel that it's a stance that it's going to divide everybody. Everybody's got their own opinion on it. But, yeah, I wish her all the best, and that's pretty much all there is to it.
No, I agree. I share them sentiments. Like, it's better to see her playing, though, to be honest. I'd rather be discussing her playing than that, but it's the way of the world at the moment. But my love goes out to her, because it must be hard, because these players as well don't get the media attention like Jones. So I would say Jones is probably better equipped as a human being, because he's been under the microscope, and we know what AFL men's are like. If one of them goes to the toilet too many times a day, the AFL tell us about it. So he will be used to his life being under some form of scrutiny. Genuinely, and we talked about this on camera, the difference in media coverage of the girls is, unless they do something like this, we don't really hear about them, do we? So she won't be as well equipped.
No, and I'm just looking, like, most of the AFLW news on the Carlton page is from, they don't post very often, to be perfectly fair. And that's probably something that it needs to change. That's just my personal opinion. It just, I feel like the more positive AFLW coverage we get, the more people will be interested in the game. Because I know from my perspective and the people that I go to the football with, we're all AFLW mad. We have been since day one. We go to open training sessions when we were allowed to. We're first there every game. We're last to leave. We know the girls. We get to know the girls on a personal level. And all of the girls that I've mentioned tonight, we've met in some capacity, and we've got relationships with most of them. And we've got relationships with players that have left prior to this. So I think it's something that goes under the radar quite often is the fact that these girls, football's not their first profession. So it's mainly a part-time thing because of the nature of the season. So I think that they need more publicity, because young girls aren't going to want to pick up a football if they don't know anything about the game. And if you're not publicizing it, how are they going to know?
Spot on. And we talked about it off camera. It's amazing that there was a lot of build-up to the girls' game, and then suddenly something happened last week. A few of the boys started training shirtless, and suddenly that's news. And the girls have been hard at work for about 4 or 6 weeks now, and the boys have just turned up, done a couple of bits of runs. Charlie got me excited because he took his shirt off, as he always does. And we forget about them. And we do need to remember that there is a girls' competition about to start in about 6 weeks' time if someone actually makes a decision, which is still baffling to me. We're 4 weeks away from the proposed start, but no one knows if we are starting.
Yeah, because I'd love to go through the fixture on the show one night, just run through the fixture. So it's just gonna have to be a wait and see. But no, we need more AFLW news, not just Carlton news. I'm talking big scale AFLW news. We need news outlets to start talking about it. We need the AFL pages to start talking about it, generate a little bit of buzz for the season, because we're going to get to the 6th of January. If we are going to actually start on the 6th of January, and we're not going to know. We're not going to know about it. We'll get one 30-second clip on a Channel 9 sports read, and that'll be it. And it's not good enough. Like, we want to try and drum up as much positive energy, and in saying that, we're going to be having a female tipping competition through the cheer squad. So until we know where we're playing and when we're playing, it's hard to get excited. Like, you can see the girls training twice, 3 times a week. Sometimes even on a Saturday morning they're training. They're putting in the hard yards, but no one's noticing.
Well, I mean, it's funny because if you remember 2 years ago when COVID first came, I remember the forums, and even I was getting a bit angry on Blue Abroad a few times because Gillen would start doing the 2-week fixtures and be like, oh, we'll release it. And I was like, how can these players prepare if they don't know if they're playing GWS in 3 weeks or they're playing Gold Coast in 2 weeks? They need to know. It's stupid that you're just making it up on the fly. Well, this is even worse because they don't even know who they're playing round 1, where they're playing, why they're playing. There's even talk that the season may be shorter, that this might happen. Like, they need to be in a mental space to prepare for what's about to happen. And it's getting close because they break up for Christmas, don't they, in 2 weeks' time? So there's a week that you forget about as well. So really, there's about 3 weeks till the men are tee off.
Well, that's exactly right, because we were supposed to be starting at the beginning of December. So we were supposed to be starting in like a week's time. And they were going to, but I think obviously they came to their senses and thought probably not the best idea to run a competition across Christmas and New Year. But the fact that they're starting the second weekend of January, the girls are still going to be in Christmas mode up until like at least the 1st or 2nd of January. They're going to come back the 2nd of January and train for a week before they play. If you're not sure what the fixture is, postpone it. Just say, hey, we're not going to start on the 6th of January because we don't have a fixture yet. We'll let you know when we do, and then we'll let you know when we're starting the season. Stop leaving the girls in limbo.
It is a very weird thing when you actually look at it in the terms of that they don't actually know. And there seems to be absolute no like indication. They've just said it's the 2nd week of January, but you would have thought by now there's a fixture, a clear indication of what the first couple of rounds are going to be.
Yeah. Give us something, Gillen. Give us something.
Yeah, I mean, it can't be that hard. There's not that many teams in the AFLW, so it's not a big fixture list like the 18 teams.
No, not until next year. Not until 2023 when we have every AFL side with an AFLW side. So
I agree with you. Sort it out, AFL.
It's like me I'm technically telling my boss. And I appreciate comments like this because it's true. There's not many, there is no other AFLW shows out there. And I think that it's important for us to recognise the women. And I feel like we are doing that through this. So I thank you, Peter, for your support, and everyone watching. We thank you so much for this because we want to get the girls more out there. And doing these player previews / reviews from seasons gone is something that, one, for us, we get to talk about our favourite players, but for people watching, you guys get to know our girls better and understand them prior to the season. That way you guys have a better understanding of who they are and how they play their football based on what our knowledge of them is. And I hope that the last 2 weeks we've been able to give you that from players 1 to 8. And I hope in the weeks to come, we'll be able to keep that going and hopefully get through before we get to the Christmas break and before the season starts. We might have to do 5 players next week just to try and keep up. But on that note, I think it's probably bedtime. What do you reckon, Pom?
Well, it was fun. It was fun. Hopefully the AFL are watching and start giving us a fixture list for you to comment on next week.
Yes, well, I do hope that everyone has enjoyed the show. We do want to keep it short and sharp until the season starts because, there's not much to talk about in AFLW space, as we clearly have stated, but we'll be back again next week, 8 o'clock with, we'll go with 5 players, I think, next week, just to change it up a little bit, starting with our skipper, Keza Harrington. So thank you, everyone, once again for joining myself and the lovely Pom, as always. And we hope to see you all again next week. And up the Baggers.
Go Baggers.